Welcome to today's CRM Magazine Roundtable web event, brought to you by Ascribe Software and LiveOps. I'm David Myron, Editorial Director of CRM Magazine, and I'll be the moderator for today's broadcast. Our presentation today is titled, Why Customer Service is Better in the Cloud. Before we start, allow me to explain how you can participate in the live event. At the end of the broadcast, there will be a question and answer session. If you have a question during the presentation, just type it into the question box provided and click on the Submit button. We'll try to answer as many questions as possible, but if your question has not been answered during the show, you will receive an email response to it within a few days. We'll have a couple of polling questions during the event, so when the poll appears, please select your answer, and we'll share the results live. Also, if you would like a copy of the presentation, you can download a PDF from the resource icon at the bottom of the console. Now, I'll introduce our speakers for today's event. Lou Antonucci is the Vice President of Sales at Scribe Software, and Jason Wu is the Senior Product Marketing Manager at LiveOps. To review the speakers' bios, please click on the speaker icon on the bottom of the console. Now, why don't we get things going? But before we start the presentation, let's go ahead and conduct our first poll question, which should now appear on your screen. And the poll question reads, are your customer-facing systems, marketing, sales, finance, and support, fully integrated to allow access to key customer data at the point of interaction with your customer? Please select one of the three following options, yes, no, or partially. And while we're waiting for the poll results to show, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the participating companies, some of the companies that are represented in our viewing audience. We have members viewing in from Epsilon, Consumers Energy, Results Candy, AT&T, and Booz Allen Hamilton, to name a few. Okay, so it looks like the poll results are in, so why don't we go ahead and post those. And in response to the question, are your customer-facing systems fully integrated to allow access to key customer data at the point of interaction with the customer? It looks like two-thirds said partially, and a third said no, with no one saying yes. So that's an interesting result, and it actually bodes well for what we're going to talk about on this call. So with that, I will now pass the event over to our first presenter, Lou Antonucci, Vice President of Sales at Scribe Software. Welcome to the broadcast, Lou.
Thank you, David, and welcome to those that are online with us today. As David mentioned, I'm Vice President of Sales at Scribe Software, and interesting results on the poll that we just saw there, and I'm going to speak to some of those points as I go briefly through my presentation. I thought I would certainly at first, for those that may not be familiar with Scribe Software, just give you a little bit of background about our company. Scribe Software provides both on-premise and in the cloud data integration platforms for companies both in the mid-market as well as in the enterprise. And while we've been a leader in the Microsoft Dynamics space, particularly focused on the CRM side of things, as well as Salesforce.com, our products and services do also service integrating to any myriad of applications, be they marketing automation applications, e-commerce, ERP, legacy databases, and so on. And we are a global company, over 12,000 customers of our products and services worldwide, and our products are actually sold and implemented through systems integrators. As part of them possibly deploying, say, a CRM system and then integrating that system to other applications. And as I mentioned, we do have we have an on-premise toolkit as well as an online platform for integration. And as we talk today in both presentations about the cloud and applications in the cloud, obviously with companies moving more and more of their application services to the cloud, then and also looking at best-of-breed applications, there's certainly a need more and more today for integration in the cloud. So let's start off by talking a little bit about a couple trends that we see happening out there. Now, a survey that was done by Data Growth and Protection in 2013, and it was a data survey. One of the points that they found out was that an average employee at a company will spend roughly 4.5 hours a week trying to track down important information that they need to do their job. Well, just think about it. Let's say if you've got a sales organization that has 10 people. Well, if each one of those folks is spending 4 hours to look for data in a week, you're really talking about 1 week's worth of productivity there that could be lost. So there's definitely an impact when users can't get readily accessible data. One of the other trends that we've found through research by Ventana Research was that most companies today, 55% of the companies that they've surveyed, have found that businesses consider data integration to be a critical success factor in how they're planning their strategies around their information management. And as we all hear everyone talking about big data and so on, it's really not so much big data that you'll see being the issue. It's how do you get the right data to the right person in your organization. Now, through one of our surveys that we do on an annual basis, we do a data integration survey, and typically we get between 900 and 1,000 respondents. That survey goes out to CRM users, to business leaders, to systems integrators. And what we've found, and it's not unlike our initial poll question here, only 15% of the companies polled actually felt that they had fully integrated their customer-facing systems. Now, why is integrating customer-facing systems important to all of us? Well, with all of the data that's available today, the more we can understand about our customer, the better we can service that customer, and the better their experience with us will be. Because at the end of the day, it's all about the customer experience and customer success. Now, when we talk about customer experience and customer success, another poll that was done by a company called the Experts Bench, which typically polls Fortune 500 companies, one of the things they've found when they polled the CEOs, they pretty much asked the question, would you define your customer's experience with you as a vendor as being excellent or good? And just over 70% of those CEOs polled responded and said, yes, we feel our customers are having an excellent experience with us. However, polling that same group of customers as to how they felt about their experience with those vendors, it turns out that only 8% of the customers responding felt that they had a good experience. So as you can see, sometimes perception is reality or shouldn't be reality. It's really how are we servicing our customers and are we providing a good experience? And how do we go about that when we have this proliferation of data? How can I best serve my customers and my prospects with this myriad of data that is out there today? And it resides in my marketing systems, typically marketing automation systems like Silverpop or ExactTarget or HubSpot. In my CRM systems, which typically a sales organization would use, like Dynamics CRM, Salesforce.com, and so on. Our finance systems, anything from mid-market to upper mid-market applications like the Dynamics suite of ERP products to SAP, to Epicor, PeopleSoft, and then my support systems, help desk systems, for example, like LiveOps that's on the presentation with us today. All of us have some type of data or some amount of data about our prospects and customers in each of these types of systems at our organizations. Now, let's add to that to the fact we now have to deal with all of this information that's shown by this graphic here, all of this information today from Facebook and Twitter, LinkedIn, Google, and so on, that really can provide us valuable data about our customers and prospects. How do we deal with that? This type of data wasn't even accessible to us, 5 to 7 years ago. So as companies, we all have to look at how can I work with all of this data to better serve my prospects and customers? So for example, as we talked about that, we can see here I've shown where in our data integration survey, one of the questions that we had asked was, as a marketing organization, how many of you would feel it's valuable to have integrated data from other systems in your company? And over 60% of the respondents said we absolutely need that. And what we found was that also those marketing organizations that integrated data from these other departments such as sales and finance and support, they actually had better performance metrics in their marketing activities. They were able to forecast better by having fully integrated systems, or at least partially integrated systems with these other departments. And one of the key numbers that came back was that being able to convert leads to opportunities. You can see a big disparity here between those marketing departments that felt they were integrated versus those that felt they weren't. They were getting a much greater return on their ability to convert leads to opportunities. And that's where it really goes to the bottom line. When a marketing department can get greater return on converting leads to opportunities, the sales team can have more qualified opportunities to work and hopefully close more business faster. So really at the end of the day, as I mentioned earlier, it's not just about big data and all of that data. It's all about customer success, and in that respect, how do we get the right data into the hands of the knowledge workers when they're interacting with the customer? Now, what I'd like to do here is I would like to kind of go through a short case study. And I can certainly vouch for this case study because this is our own internal case study of Scribe Software. Now, we've been in business since 1996, and in all that time in the data integration space. And as we have grown, obviously, from what really started out as a startup company, we eventually added a CRM system. We started with a small financial system, which at the time, a number of years back was Peachtree. We had kind of a homegrown service desk system and a registration database for our serial numbers for our software, because back in the beginning, we simply sold on-premise software, and now we offer both cloud and on-premise systems. But as we look at that, as well as our third-party email engine we had, none of those systems through the first 5-6 years of our existence, really as we were growing, none of those systems were automated or integrated, and everything was manual. But pretty much within the past, about 6-7 years ago, we had added new systems, which a lot of companies do. We moved some systems to the cloud. We've integrated all of those systems. And now, as a matter of fact, and you can, asking, a director of finance, what is the company's system of record? If he were to tell you it was their CRM system, he might faint. But we actually use our CRM system now as our system of record, which drives all our other systems. And that's because we've fully integrated those. We've integrated those with our SilverPop marketing automation system, as well as our financial systems and the other systems listed here. But what does it really mean to the bottom line, right? Give me an example of what it means. Well, for me, for my organization, for the last 7 years, I've saved just in hard cost in salary, not even counting soft cost, $150,000 a year. And I'll talk through a little bit about how we're able to do that. Now, if you look at this chart here, this really shows that, and I have a little cloud by each one of the areas where the applications are in the cloud, because people integrating today are going to have some applications that are what we say are on-premise or on the ground, and then other applications in the cloud. And we certainly have both here. So like most organizations today, we have a hybrid environment where we're integrating cloud to ground, cloud to cloud, and so on. But for example, here's how we build those efficiencies and get that return on investment. So for example, we use Silverpop to blast out our marketing campaigns, and when customers or prospects respond to certain things, they're scored within the marketing automation system. That's great. That information comes back to that marketing automation system, and it pretty much sits there. Now, some marketing automation systems are integrated to the CRM systems today, but for example, we take our integration one step further by building in a workflow that says when these scoring of emails and web hits that happen from our campaigns, in this scoring that happens, if they reach a certain level, provide that to my sales rep with a lead that actually comes up on his desktop first thing in the morning. Before, this used to be a manual process for us integrating spreadsheets. Don't have to do that anymore. It's all done automatically. As well with our ERP system, when one of my sales reps quotes a customer and that customer purchases, when they close their opportunity in the CRM system, it automatically integrates to our ERP system. If that customer doesn't exist already in the ERP system, the integration creates the customer with the information input from the order. And then the ERP system, through an integration, then confirms that order, at the same time links to our production registration database, and through an integration, we'll pull the serial numbers, put those into an email, and have those emailed out with an invoice to the end user customer. All of this used to be a manual process for us a number of years ago. So you can see the time that we save, as well as the unfortunate process of having to fix manual errors that always happen in the process. Now, we have also integrated our service desk system so that system is supplied with that new customer's serial numbers and customer information, so it doesn't have to be put in manually either. So through this whole process, what we've been able to do is, now I will also mention, we've recently added an online partner portal. As I mentioned, our services are sold and implemented by 1,000 systems integrators and VARs across the globe. We're able to allow them now to, through this partner portal that is integrated to our CRM system, pulling all of this other data, our partners can see their list of customers, what their service tickets might have been, what their serial numbers are, how their maintenance contracts are running, whether they're due to expire, and so on. So it allows even our partner network to be closely tied to the valuable information that sits in all of these systems. So with that, what we've realized over the years is the savings I talked about. Literally, to do this today, I would need at least one more maintenance renewal sales rep and one sales admin to do the admin work. That saves my sales group $90,000 a year. Well, my sales group is small because we sell through channels, so I've only got 15 people total, but we service worldwide through channels. We also would need another 2 FTEs in our finance group for data entry, which would cost another $60,000. These aren't even loaded salaries. This is just the base, what the salaries would be for these folks. So, you factor on loaded salaries, you factor on all the other soft costs that we could save, and it does provide a great savings over time. This is what pretty much most mid-market companies, even enterprises, they deal with these types of issues, and it really comes down to having the ability to integrate your valuable systems, those systems with the data that your workers need when they're interacting with the customer. Having that ability can really save both time and money. This is just one small example. So what does all this tell us? Pretty much, data integration has really become more of a necessity than a luxury for all of us, especially with the movement to the cloud. Now, when Jason talks about LiveOps and the value of their integrating to CRM, keep in mind that even in that scenario, if your CRM system is integrating to the other application areas that I've spoken about, it makes your CRM system even that much more valuable. So it really comes full circle. It also tells us that data integration really has to now be a key component of any customer-facing initiative. Companies more and more are eliminating their internal IT functions and trying to do more and more in the cloud. At the same time, it comes down to best of breed. And when you're looking at best of breed, typically the majority of the applications won't be integrated with each other. So you do need to look, for an integration platform that can help you there. And then certainly, integrated customer-facing systems really are the centerpiece to customer success, improved productivity, and cost savings. Hopefully, I've shown you a little bit here about how this can be valuable to you in terms of cost savings if you relate it to your company as well. So I'd like to finish up there with a thank you for allowing the few minutes to cover some of these points for you on integration and the value you can get by integrating, be it cloud or on-premise applications for your organization. And you can certainly, if you'd like more information, contact us at scribesoft.com. So with that, I'd like to hand it back to David.
All right, great. Thank you for that presentation, Lou. Before we move on to our next presenter, let's go ahead and conduct our second poll question, which should be appearing on your screen now. And the poll question reads, what is the primary system you look to integrate with the contact center? Please select from one of the following options: CRM, workforce management optimization, knowledge base, or other. And while we wait for the results, let me remind you that you can ask questions at any time during the event. Just type your question in the question box provided and click on the Submit button. As I stated earlier, we'll try to answer as many questions as possible during the live event. But if we're unable to respond to your question during the show, you'll receive an email response to it in a few days. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the results. And in response to the question, what is the primary system you look to integrate with the contact center? Two-thirds said CRM, followed by 20% at workforce management with workforce management optimization, and then 13.3% said knowledge base. So pretty consistent with what Lou was talking about, using CRM as the main, as the primary source for customer data. With that, now I'd like to welcome our next presenter, Jason Wu, Senior Product Marketing Manager at LiveOps. Welcome to the broadcast, Jason.
Perfect. Thanks, David. And good morning and good afternoon to you all. Again, thank you all for taking the time to join us today. My name is Jason Wu, Product Marketing Manager here at LiveOps. And for the second half of this webinar, I want to build upon some of the points that we established and discussed earlier in the presentation with Lou, specifically the value of integrating your various systems together. Now, as we just saw just a moment ago from the poll question and some of your responses, many of you have identified integrating your CRM and contact center systems as an area of importance to help your organization deliver the best possible experience for your customers. So I think that's a key point there. And to really underscore that point, I put a number up on the slide. Take a moment to venture a guess at what this number might represent. So mull it over. Again, you're free to use any notes or resources that you have available to you. Discuss it with a colleague of yours if you're watching this webinar together, and try to determine what this number 67 might signify. So take a few more seconds to gather your thoughts and collect your ideas on what this number might mean. Okay, so time is up. 67% of customers have hung up during a service call over the past year. Take that into account. That means over two-thirds of consumers were so dissatisfied, so disenchanted during a call that they just decided to abandon the call altogether, even before their issue was resolved. 67%. And that number, again, while it's probably a great factoid that I've used in the past to stump my family or friends, this number actually really took on a new, more direct meaning for me just this recent past weekend, where, again, I nearly became a data point for this statistic. what I thought would be a relatively simple customer service call actually turned into one that was relatively frustrating. So let me set the stage. So at this experience of mine, we'll use this as a frame for our discussion for today. Okay? So as Friday night approached, it really means one thing in my household and one thing only. It's bill paying night. Okay? So I'm cranking away, paying off the credit card bills, knocking out the utility bill. The night's looking pretty promising and pretty productive from that standpoint. That is until I encounter the phone bill. That's when I notice the amount that I'm supposedly owing looks a bit excessive. In fact, the amount was probably double what I normally would pay. And after briefly examining it, leafing through the various pages, I figured that this was probably just a simple mistake. Shouldn't be too difficult to resolve. Let me just give a quick phone call to the phone company. Right? We've all done that in the past, so shouldn't be too difficult. So again, I dial the general toll-free number listed on the bill. And of course, we're familiar with the process that prior to speaking to an agent, you go through that normal standard procedure. You enter the phone number, you enter your account number, you enter other information that you're prompted in the IVR menu. So after waiting a few minutes in the queue, nothing too long, I reach a live agent whose first question proceeds to be, hey, could you provide me your name, your account number, and your phone number? So I'm a little taken aback because given that I just spent a few minutes providing that same exact information just a few minutes ago. But I'll certainly give them the benefit of the doubt. I presume the agent's just probably looking to confirm that all my details are correct, all the details are accurate. So no biggie, no big deal. I'll just resupply the requested information just for a second time. So again, after spending some time with the agent explaining, my situation and how I think I was overcharged, the agent comes to the conclusion and determines that I probably should speak to the billing department and that she'll transfer me over to that group. Now, I bet many of you on the webinar today are probably could guess that, you could guess what happens next, right? I'm going to be transferred over to the billing department, but again, I'm going to be re-looped through the same series of steps. I'm going through the same steps with the billing department now. And again, I need to provide my account information, re-explain my situation, as again, apparently none of my background information that I provided to the first agent was logged into the system or at least wasn't visible to that agent. So the net of this, while I had to supply the information multiple times, the issue was finally resolved after probably 30 minutes after me having to recite my account information a handful of times. So again, while the issue was resolved, it was probably a little bit more aggravating than it should have been, right? I think we could all agree to that. Now, based on our work expertise or just, again, based from our personal experience as a consumer, most of us probably recognize that interaction that I just went through last weekend wasn't the smoothest in the world, right? From a customer perspective, it was clearly more frustrating than it needed to be on my end because, I had to call multiple toll-free numbers. I had to find the right department so I could explain what I was going through properly, as well as, again, I had to recite the same information several different instances. Right. On the flip side, from the agent standpoint, it probably was pretty painful for them as well, right? The agent clearly was probably less productive, having to manually type in my account information on several different occasions. They probably had to sift through various systems just to see my history and who the heck I was, right? And from the contact center as a whole, with managing all the agents, the time to handle my call collectively between the 2 to 3 agents was probably longer than it needed to be. So again, from all fronts, it certainly was a lose-lose situation. And while there's probably a bevy of reasons on why the sequences of interactions that I just described might have taken place or why it occurred, is that there's certainly some telltale signs that indicate that a siloed system really contributed, at least in part, to the experience being a little bit more disjointed than it had to be, right? So in that instance, the big question is, as these type of interactions arise, how are organizations really providing a seamless collaboration between all customer-facing functions? That's always been the big question, right? Now, one of the approaches, as again you've probably seen just from the title of this particular webinar, is that one approach to minimize these easy turn frustrating interactions that we just described is to look to integrate your contact center and your CRM solutions in the cloud. Now, in fact, some of you might have already had these systems in place individually, but you could possibly further maximize your investments by linking these two systems together. Now, one of the great benefits of a combined CRM and contact center solution is CTI. CTI isn't necessarily a new thing, but it's essentially what allows you to leverage that vast array of customer contact data stored in your CRM and use that data to help drive interactions, where those interactions should be routed, who should handle it within your contact center. So again, in my instance, which agents should take my call and what priority I have in the queue. So again, if we take back that example of me calling the phone company, if the company had a combined solution in place, they could have directed my phone number and interaction history right to the agent, and even before the call was answered, intelligently route me to the right agent, in this case the billing agent, that would be available and be able to work with me to help rectify this issue during my first call. From the agent standpoint, when they were ready to take the call, they would have a screen pop capability, which again is a key component of the CTI integration, of any CTI integration, so that again the agent is well equipped, well prepared to take that call. They have full visibility into my call history, so that they could really crack into solving the issue that I had at hand without the need to ask for my account information again or explain the situation multiple times. So again, really in totality, this would really have accelerated the time to rectify my issue and would have certainly yielded a much more pleasant experience from my end or the customer's end. Now, another advantage of having a combined solution is that your agent also gets an improved experience. As I think many of us know, having worked in a customer experience place or having dealt with customer service representatives, is that when an agent is much happier or they're much more pleasant and much more friendly, your customer oftentimes reciprocates that type of behavior. So a happy agent oftentimes means it's a happy customer. So how the agent experience actually improves with this integrated solution is that your agent no longer needs to, again, fiddle between multiple applications. They don't have to do a forced Alt-Tab between multiple windows to try to access that right information that they're looking for at that particular time. They have one desktop for both CRM and the contact center. All the functionality between both applications will be available through that single desktop. That means they could, for example, dial out, transfer, conference calls or just place outbound calls, as well as enter notes directly in this one desktop without having to, go to two separate places to update these records. So again, that's a key component to helping improve the agent experience with having some form of embedded telephony within your systems. Now, thirdly, a pretty big benefit that your organization may achieve is that you'll gain a more holistic view of your contact center. Get a view of how your contact center is performing. So, for example, you can monitor call frequency, the duration of your calls, the outcome of your calls from an individual agent basis or from a team basis. So again, ultimately, this helps provide your management team with better business insight to help, and make improvements if there's improvements to be made. And I think, truthfully, for many of us, we realize that there's always improvement that can be necessary in our customer service functions, right? So given that, with those capabilities that we described, making these slight adjustments, leveraging some of the tools that you might already have, whether that's a contact center, whether that's a CRM solution, tools that you already have in place, and integrating them could really help deliver a better customer experience. Your agents know the customer better. They have access to the right information at the right time so that they could really respond more efficiently, which clearly wasn't the case in the example that I provided earlier. Now, best of all, these benefits can not only be achieved through a cloud solution. For one, there's no hardware, no software, and really no plugins that need to be installed for each agent computer. Now, in the past, CTI used to be a pain because of all the equipment, all the hardware that was required from the CRM equipment side and from the contact center side. It was very cumbersome to try to link these two solutions together. Now, the second benefit of having that cloud solution is it's easy to scale up and down to support your contact center volume. So, for example, if your business is prone to seasonal fluctuations, you could easily adjust accordingly with a cloud solution. You could have maybe a peak winter season and scale up with capacity, or you could scale down if the summer months are a little bit slower in terms of your overall contact center traffic. Now, thirdly, another great capability and great value of the cloud is that you always have the latest features. You have the latest features, the most advanced technologies. You don't have to wait 6, 9, 12 months or 18 months for new features to come out. It's always evolving. So one of these advanced capabilities that has really intrigued and taken over the call center space is WebRTC. It's a great opportunity for organizations to really completely eliminate the landline, eliminate agent desktop phones, so that they could do everything completely from the cloud, and again, really eliminate footprint within your contact center. Okay? So with that said, if you're looking for more information regarding cloud contact center, looking for more information on some best practices on how to integrate your contact center and your CRM, feel free to learn more at our website at www.liveops.com or give us a ring. Okay, so with that said, I'll turn it back over to David.
All right, Jason, thank you so much. All right, so now let's go ahead and begin our roundtable discussion. As a reminder, if you have a question, just type it in the question box provided and click on the submit button. Try to get to as many of those questions as possible. Okay, so my first question is for Lou. Lou, what are some of the challenges that come with integrating different business systems? If a company is using, let's say, On24 as a webinar platform and it wants to be able to have leads flow directly into its CRM system versus having to extract, then enter into a marketing automation tool and then sync with the CRM system, how would it do that?
Well, I think, when you talk about challenges, one of the biggest challenges with integration, it's not unlike challenges a company would have with implementing CRM or other applications. Sometimes customers try to bite off more than they can chew. And so you really need to approach it from the standpoint of a phased approach. So, for example, I think you mentioned having On24. And you want to integrate data into CRM. The first thing you want to do is, a lot of people say, well, we can custom code this. We can just write an integration. That works only as far as the next rev of the application you're integrating to, right? Because then there's a break fix someone has to go through to then integrate whatever the new rev might be. So there's a couple of the challenges is, you want to make sure you approach it from a phased approach, and also look for a toolkit. There are a lot of good. Scribe, we obviously provide an integration toolkit online or on premise, where we provide connectors. As a matter of fact, we have a connector for On24. So we've taken the pain out of customers, trying to write to that application. So therefore, if you're looking to integrate applications like On24, you might say, okay, who out there that offers integration toolkits, who has a connector available that then it just becomes, to me, a customize or a configuration process, not a custom coding process. So really, I think those are a couple ways you can avoid some of the challenges, which would be you don't want to get into a custom code situation. You want to have something that's flexible over time.
All right, thanks for that. And there's a follow-up to that, Lou. How difficult is an integration, and how long would it normally take to complete if a company has cloud and on-premise integrations between businesses?
Well, it really, it really depends again on the process you're using for integration. And most of the cloud integration vendors today that have both cloud and on-premise services, if you're integrating on-premise to cloud, that doesn't necessarily make things more difficult. What really determines the difficulty level of your integration is, are you able to easily connect to the applications that you're integrating, and what is it that you need to do? For most of our customers, it typically would take a few days to a couple weeks to write an integration for, say, a marketing automation application to Dynamics CRM or to Salesforce. Now, part of the reason for that is we provide pre-designed solution templates, and other vendors do that as well. So that's a key thing, is to look for that type of scenario where there are solution packages or solution maps already available that can get you started. In that case, it takes a lot less time than even building maps from scratch.
All right, thanks for that. And just one more question for you. If a company has sensitive data and privacy needs, during the integration process, is there an option to store execution log history, error messages encrypted within its own within their own agent?
Okay. Well, this is a good question from the standpoint of cloud integration, because one of the biggest issues is security and data. And with the Scribe online platform, for example, we don't store or transmit any data or house any data in the cloud. All of that transformation of data when there's an integration process actually takes place in what we call agents. So it may be that this person knows a little bit about Scribe. And as a result, the data never resides in the cloud, so if you do have security issues or concerns, you don't have to be concerned about that. And with our online service, as well as some others in the market, you can get what are called either cloud agents or on-premise agents. So even though we provide a cloud service, you could have an on-premise agent that sits behind the firewall if you're integrating to an on-premise app, and that's where your data resides. Now, what happens, though, in any integration, you may have error messages or error logging that happens when, say, an integration process fails. And sometimes those error messages or logs could be stored in the cloud. They may contain a piece of the customer's data, which obviously you don't want that to happen. So one of the things you need to look at with a cloud integration vendor is, do I have the ability to have encrypted error log messages to make sure that my data is not present anywhere in the cloud, or can I do those behind the firewall in an agent? With Scribe, you can do both of those. So if you're looking at doing a cloud integration and you're concerned about that, make sure you ask the question about error logging as well.
All right, thanks for that. So let's go ahead and bring Jason into the discussion. Jason, there's been a lot of talk about CEM, customer experience management, and CRM, customer relationship management. Is there a difference, and what is the difference?
Sure. I think there's differing views on that. I think many folks consider CEM to be a superset of CRM. And where I've seen a lot of definition regarding customer experience management is they've essentially really described it similar to how we describe it today, where it's a combination of the CRM functionality and some of the insights and data that have been captured regarding these customers, and linking that with a contact center to be able to, again, intelligently route customers to the right people. So again, according to one definition, certainly CAM is a subset of, or a superset of CRM.
All right, thanks for that. Another question for you, Jason. You talked about computer telephony integration with a voice channel, but how would computer telephony integration, or CTI, apply to other interaction channels?
So that's definitely a good question. I presume, again, just similar to what I've heard from many customers of ours, is that more and more contact centers and organizations are interacting with their customers more and more outside of just the voice channel. There's a lot more interaction that's taking place with social media or some of these other channels. Now, what's great about CTI integration is that if you're choosing a multi-channel routing solution that can handle voice, chat, email, social media, and some of these other channels, you could really leverage that same work that you did for the voice integration and really apply it to some of these other channels. So, if you're looking at doing that and expanding your contact center to kind of support some of these other channels, if you've already started and taken the first step with that voice CTI, shouldn't be too difficult given that you have the right routing type of solution there.
All right, thank you. Another question for you, Jason. There's certainly value in integrating CRM systems and contact center systems, but what impact does it have in terms of first contact resolution or other areas?
Sure. So I'm not, quite frankly, I don't know if there's really a one-size-fits-all answer, right? Certainly it's going to be dependent on your contact center, the maturity of your processes, the maturity of your technologies, and the maturity of your people, your agents. But from some of the experiences that we've had dealing with hundreds of implementations and some of our customers, we typically see a benchmark around 10% improvement in FCR, or the first contact resolution. Now, that percentage doesn't seem like a huge number, but again, as we stated earlier, some of these slight changes within a contact center actually makes a pretty huge difference. So, for example, one customer of ours that comes to mind, they had about 80 agents within their contact center. And just by making these slight improvements in terms of getting screen pop, getting the CTI integration, they were actually able to achieve over $50,000 in improvement just in their first year. So again, while the percentages might not be great, some of these incremental improvements in some of these areas actually end up making a big difference there.
All right, Jason. Another question for you. Are call centers utilizing predictive analytics using their customer data as well as third-party data to enhance the call center experiences and allow for cross-sell, upsell?
So what I've seen is predictive dialers or predictive capabilities there are primarily used for call campaigns for where the company doesn't really have a strong relationship with. So where I'm seeing more and more is with these predictive analytics is that they're leveraging some of the data that they know of these customers and using that as a benefit to call folks to, again, have a better experience there. So we've seen an increasing trend regarding predictive analytics, but again, it's not something that has wide adoption, but again, it's gaining some traction there.
All right, great. Thanks for that. And I'd like to thank you and as well as Lou for your presentation. Looks like we are out of questions, so so we'll wrap up at this time. Again, thanks to Jason Wu, Senior Product Marketing Manager at LiveOps, and thanks to Lou Antonucci, Vice President of Sales at Ascribe Software. If you would like a copy of the presentation, you can download it once the event is archived. If you would like to review this event or send it to a colleague, please use the same web address that you used for today's event. It will be archived for 90 days. Plus, as courtesy, you'll receive a follow-up email tomorrow once the archive is posted. And finally, just for participating in today's event, you can win this Apple TV. The winner will be announced on May 30th. Please visit www.DestinationCRM.com to see if you're the winner. And if you stay on the console, you'll automatically be redirected to our CRM Evolution conference landing page, where you can find out more information about our upcoming conference from August 18th to the 20th at the New York Marriott Marquis. This concludes our broadcast. Thank you for joining.